pretty amazing.
I don't need another flu shot. I had a flu shot last year. A swine flu epidemic may be coming.
Swine flu shot? Well, I don't know. I've been thinking about it.
It could make you very sick.
Swine flu? Man, I'm too fast to let it catch me.
You'll want to be protected.
I'm the healthiest 55-year-old you've ever seen. Hey, I play golf every weekend.
Get a shot of protection. The swine flu shot.
Joe brought it home from the office. He gave it to Betty and one of his kids, and to Betty's mother. But Betty's mother went back to California the next day. On her way to the airport, she gave it to a cab driver, a ticket agent, and one of the charming at school. Joe's kids and other kids. And Mrs. Merrill got it and gave it to her husband. In California, Betty's mother gave it to her best friend, Dottie. But Dottie had a heart condition and she died. But before she died, Dottie gave it to her girlfriend, the mailman, the paper boy, and the vet when she went to pick up her chihuahua.
If a swine flu epidemic comes, this is how it could spread. You'll want to be protected, especially if you're elderly or chronically ill. Get a shot of protection, the swine flu shot.
And that came from the United States Department of Public Health. Now, that was 1976. I mean, in California, Betty's mother gave it to her best friend, Dottie, but Dottie had a heart condition and she died. You know, gentlemen, every year I see the elderly lining up for these stupid flu shots. Every year, without fail. And what happens to elderly, and here's the scare tactic. If you don't get the flu shot, you may get the flu. And with elderly people, it could be pneumonia. What's the biggest killer of elderly? Lung infections, pneumonia, you know, leading to heart failure, whatever. I see this time and time and time and time again.
Well, if you remember back to the election in November, especially here in Arizona, I mean, it was widely advertised. Go and vote and get your flu shot. You could go and place your vote and get a flu shot at the same time.
Oh, man. I got the military. Yeah, I got the military's flu shot in '71 when I was in boot camp. Guess what I got? The flu. Sean in Wisconsin. Hello, Sean.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, John. I just wanted to add something to that comment the fellow brought up about the 40 microbiologists that have been lost. There's an article out there about the Project Bell, which is a German project that was toward the end of the Second World War that was supposed to revolutionize warfare. It was so diabolical that it was rated above top secret, and it ended toward the end of the war by them destroying everything and killing 60 scientists to cover up that information. And then Project Paperclip brought these same scientists to America because their physics was so much more advanced than ours.
Right.
And I've heard the phrase that they say, us in the U.S., we embrace their physics, and with it, we get their evil. That's all I got.
All right, Sean, thanks for the call. And by the way, on the tail end of what I just played for you, and keep in mind where this was coming from. And this was the U.S. Public Health Service. That's an offshoot of the Organization for Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And they were coordinating this U.S. response to this year's outbreak. In 1976, the vaccinations campaign is now considered to have been an overreaction based on mistaken fears that the swine flu outbreak would pose the same risk as the Spanish flu pandemic that followed the First World War, claiming the lives of up to 50 million people. Now, many of the 40 millions of Americans who signed up for the vaccinations questioned the advice of the county health experts after the predicted pandemic failed to materialize. But they got their shots, and the drug companies got their cash. Ed in Georgia. Hello, Ed.
Hey, John. How are you?
I'm swine fluless so far.
One thing about the swine flu, I was in the military when Ford came out with it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to take it. I held off, and finally I drove 30 miles to where they were giving it out at the gym. And as I walked in, they said that it had been canceled. So there you go. Hey, listen, I'm calling real quick, and I just want to tell you that I've read The Grapes of Wrath. This is my third read on it. I was going to have the book here in front of me tonight to go over a few of the things I read, but I'll just say for your listening audience that it'd be a great read right now, because in there, Steinbeck was able to look and see things that are happening today right in front of us. He talks about people being in debt, about the banks being monsters to people, making men do what they want them to do. And then there's many other things, especially at the beginning of Chapter 5. But one of the things that really struck me, you got to listen to this, as I recall from what I just read, the Ma was in the cabin, and she had the kids and all that in the cabin, and the men folk were out front, and they had just been told that they had to leave their 40 acres. And the man who was sent out to tell them this said that, look, you can't do anything to these people. You can't shoot them, because first the sheriff is going to come, and then the troops. And then Ma, he goes to the cabin, and he listens to Ma, and Ma says to the children, be very careful around the men folks. When they hear things like this, sometimes they hurt the very people they love. Look what's happening around the country.
Yeah.
You know? So I just thought it'd be a great read. You'll read about things that you're looking at today, and I'm just wondering, are we going to see a repeat from 1930 to here, the wars and everything else going on?
There's not going to be a mass exodus to go out to California to pick oranges because the Mexicans are doing that.
No.
And you won't be able to afford the gas to put in your Model T to cross the, the middle America. Yeah.
Right.
By the way, have you read Atlas Shrugged?
No, but I read all the old classics, but I have that kind of on my list. I read, all the past reviews on it.
Yeah.
That was Ayn Rand, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, well, look, you guys do a fantastic job.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate your call. We're going to run. Bob, did you hear this one? The Department of the Army. Charlie Company, 3rd Battalion, 187th Infantry Regiment, out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They sent out.
I have it.
You have it? They sent out the memorandum on the subject of privately owned weapons.
It's going on all over the military.
They said effective 11 March of this year, all soldiers in possession of privately owned weapons are required to inform their chain of command of the following: registration number, location where the weapon is stored, possession of a concealed carry permit and issuing state. If any soldier comes into possession of a privately owned weapon following the effective date of this memorandum, he is required to inform the chain of command of the above information. By signing this memorandum, I understand my responsibilities concerning privately owned weapons as described in this memorandum. Now, you got to put what squad and platoon you're in. You got to print your name. Then you sign it and date it. This is not a mandatory. They're actually contracting you into this, aren't they?
That's right. And so what you do is you either don't fill it out and they court-martial you, or you lie to them. And unfortunately, you're going to have to lie to them.
Now, do you think they're starting to get a little bit worried
about the military turning on the government?
Well, but here's the thing I'd be most worried of if I was that worried. I'd be worried about my commanders picking up every bit of stuff that's not bolted down and heading for the hills with it. Tanks, APCs, shoulder-fired rockets, M16s, grenade launchers, everything. Helicopters.
You know, what they're trying to pull here is going to cause their demise. You know, they don't get it. People are not that stupid. And they're just not going to be lamely led away by the government and say, you know, all those people with hazel eyes out there, you have to shoot them because they're a danger to our country. They're not going to do it. And, you know, when push comes to shove at the end of the trail here, the people who are promulgating these things within and outside of government are going to be exterminated. And that's what's going to happen. Either that or the public's going to get decimated, one or the other.
Well, as I saw all these reports come out, you know, Napolitano and the MAIC, Project Megiddo back in '99, all of these things, this is what this is telling me. The government is becoming afraid of its people. Now, we got this.
And that's wonderful.
Yes, it is. That's when you have liberty, folks. But there's still a number of people that are still afraid of their government. I mean, look, this was a psychological operation.